women even were told, no, you can't be the executive. And then we were told, no, you can't stay at home with your kids. And so you've got to live this dichotomy of both truths, and both of them are real and both of them are of God, but he's put you into this new place. And I just think that there's so much wisdom that you're retaining in this season, and the wellspring that that's going to give people as you continue to say yes.
Oh my gosh, no, that means the world. And it's crazy the overlap. I feel like the Lord is always so kind to do these divine connections where you're like,
Yes.
here, I'm giving you people that will rally around you and like get it. And yeah, no,
Yes.
it's been humbling for sure. And there's been moments that I'm like, man, I miss that corporate life. And
Yes.
then I'm reminded of like, no, like I don't want to miss this, like I
Yes.
can always do that later. But right now, like Remy
Mm.
needs me, she's 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be at home with both of my babies. Like the time is for that right now. And I
Yeah.
just have to like trust that, the rest will come later.
Yeah. And can you talk about that a little bit more, Hope? Because the people that listen to this podcast generally are people who have high capacities. They're doing
Yeah,
and moving and creating and building and designing. And it's like
absolutely.
kingdom work, it's ministry. And
Yeah.
yet there can feel like this tension of like not wanting to miss it, being in the
How
now,
celebrate. Yeah.
and processing out the fact that like there's God is doing a work in us, right? He's constantly wanting to do a work in us. So can you talk to us about how even in the purpose not pausing, you kind of taking a shift in what you imagined your plan, right? They say you make plans and God laughs. What has
Yeah.
that been like? Where do you go in the wrestle? How do you talk to the Lord? And what is his response like in those tender moments?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so good. And it's funny because I do feel like I wrestle with this often. Like, I'll be honest, I I have a hard time being a stay-at-home mom. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
I love working. I mean, I was good at it, right? Like that
Yeah.
was like my jam. Like it came natural.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me putting in all those hours. And like having to slow down, and like Remy's favorite thing to say to me is, Mama, sit. And I'm like, I don't
Oh,
want to sit. I do not want to sit.
that's so
Stop.
classic.
Yeah. Like this morning, we're trying to get out the door. She got this little bunny for Easter that like hops. She wanted to go upstairs, put it in her toy kitchen because it can see through. So it's kind of smart. It's almost like it's at a pet store. And she's like,
Oh.
Mama, sit. And when she just wants me to watch this rabbit hop inside this kitchen. And I'm like,
You're like,
Remy,
we have to go.
we have to go. You've got to go to school. Anyways, but with all that being said, I feel like when I'm wrestling with the Lord through all of this, it's like he will just slow me down and show me a moment where he is like so there, and he's like so there for me. And I think too, like God calls us to hard things. Like the easy thing for me right now would be to like I mean, there's been days I'm like, I'm going to put her back in daycare. And also, let me do a caveat here. If you are a working mom,
Yes.
I truly believe that's where God has you. Like when I was at YouVersion, I worked the first year of her life. I truly believe, like, I mean, I didn't feel guilty about daycare because I truly believe that's where God had me. So please know,
Preach.
I
Yes.
may
Likewise.
next year the Lord may call me back into corporate America or wherever,
Yeah.
and like I'll have to trust that if I put my babies back in a different care, like that's where the Lord has me. So, but anyways,
For
right
sure.
now, specifically here, He has me here. But I think we're gonna wrestle regardless. Like I remember being a working mom, and I would wrestle with dropping Remy at daycare. I mean, I think there's
Yeah.
always a wrestle no matter what. Like there's never going to be this moment that's just like perfect and you have it
Yeah.
all. But yeah, I think it's the key thing for me is that I feel like the Lord just meets me, and it's like it's either some kind of God wink, and it's always small. It's never like this huge peak or this moment that I scream from the mountaintops, but it was even like with the movement that started,
Yeah.
leaving my job and feeling very uncertain the night before I put in my 2-week notice when I was really unsure of it. I had actually applied for the nonprofit status for purposes of pause, not knowing what it was going to be, but I wanted to be ready, like to the women here that are high capacity and builders,
Love.
you want to have everything ready for it to go and to go
So
fast and to do this.
good.
And so the night before, it came back 6 months early, y'all. And I
Wow.
was like, okay, that is just God. And then it was like, 2 months later that the movement all started. And I'm like, okay, now I know what this movement is supposed to be. It's postcards. And I literally thought it was going to be homes for women in human trafficking. But I
Whoa.
think Well, yeah, like very different.
Wow.
And yeah, and to your point with the postcard booklets earlier, I'm
Yeah.
launching a for-profit arm of the business called Hope Can
Yeah.
Change the World, and it is postcard packs. And my dream
Yes.
with postcard packs is getting it in retailers and using that money to potentially be able to, through the small things, do something really, really big, like have a house for human trafficking survivors. So, anyways,
Woo.
I think like through all of this, the Lord, though, in the wrestle, he just reminds me it's the small things. It's the one step now. It's
Yeah.
just trusting, like, it was like applying for the nonprofit, having it ready, and then him showing me what it was even supposed to be. But it
Gosh.
doesn't mean the wrestle isn't hard, because I've
Right.
definitely had days that I'm like, I need a break.
Yeah.
I just want to go be productive, like
Yeah.
in my own,
Yeah,
definition of
in your
productivity.
usual version of productivity, yeah,
Yeah.
where God
Like,
is like, "You're
someone
being
watch her
so
and let me
productive."
work.
I get that, I totally get that. I was home with my kids for
Yeah.
3 years before I started building this, and coming
Yeah.
from, like I said, a decade of entrepreneurship prior to that, portions of that literally felt like nails going down a chalkboard, where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot listen to this baby song one more time. I cannot watch this show anymore. I don't wanna eat your leftover half-bitten food anymore," but that's what I keep finding myself eating as my favorite snack of the day, and so
Yeah.
I get all that, but then it's like immediately afterwards, Hope, they're in school, you're blazing, things are happening, and you're like, "Oh man, I miss that." And
I
so
know.
it's
Yeah.
like we can never have exactly what we want unless we're literally pursuing Jesus. And when we pursue Jesus, he reminds us that what we have right now is the biggest blessing that we could have.
Absolutely.
And so it's like staying in that present space. And so I'm so glad that you're a fellow advocate of that. I cannot wait to see the movement continue to transpire, not only through the postcards, but what that's going to lead to. The fact that you even have vision for that. I want people to harness that as they're listening to this, and to know
Yeah.
that like where you are right now, the one small step today is going to lead to the things that are going to transpire tomorrow. They're surely, just like Hope, not going to look the way that you thought they were going to look, but eventually they're going to take root in a really cool way. And so just kudos to you for saying yes, for taking that leap of faith. Thank God for giving you the God winks through the process. And I hope that people look to that too. Like, what's my God wink today? What's my God wink right
I love
now?
that.
And I
Yeah.
think for you, it was when she said, "Mommy, sit." And
I
just
know. I think
sit. Because
so.
man, my
Just
kids challenge me every day. And I'm like,
oh, I
oh,
know.
I should do that.
I'm like, we don't have time to sit, but we do. We
But
do. And
we
it's
do.
carving out that time, not to just sit, like at
Yeah.
her feet, but to sit at the feet of Jesus.
Mm,
And
there it
man,
is.
I think, no, Tamara, this has been so good. And the last thing I'll just like kind of say is we wouldn't even be talking today had I not started a clay earring business back in 2019. Like I think that's why my dreams of, okay, these postcards can lead to these human trafficking purposes and pause places, is because I've seen him take a clay
Wow.
earring business, turn it into a first book deal. And then I also, at that very first book deal, took a picture holding my first book with postcards in the background of where I had studied abroad, not even knowing what was going to come to
Oh
fruition. It's
gosh.
crazy. And I share
So
that because I know that's not like, yes, that story is unique to me, but that the theme of that story is not unique. Like that is what God
good.
does. So I just want to challenge a listener,
Praise
like, you're doing
God.
something that feels really small, but you have this really big dream. Like, do not be surprised at how God's going to use that small thing to like elevate you and create a bridge to that really big thing. So
That's so exciting. I get like so giddy about that. And I want people to like trace those steps more often so that they can then share it out like this. Because, man, whether you're so far along or you're just getting started or you're trying to figure out, am I even doing anything with my life in this moment? I'm searching for purpose. These are the types
right.
of testimonies that have to be shared so that people feel that sense of energy to say, okay, she can do it. He can do it. I can too. Right. Like
Yeah.
let's do this together. And ultimately, it's all meant to glorify God. And that's what you're doing. So I'm just grateful to know you. You guys have to not only get a hold of her books, you've got to get some postcards. So go to
Yes.
Hope Regan Harris at Instagram. Also, go listen to Purpose Doesn't Pause podcast. You might hear a familiar voice on there eventually.
Coming
And the
soon.
knowledge point that hope can change the world. So you're going to see all of this on Instagram, Hope. I am so grateful you're here today. Is there any final words?
Oh my gosh. Okay, the last thing that I felt like the Lord just pressed on my heart is I felt like for so long when I did feel like my purpose paused, I was searching everywhere except at my feet, everywhere except where God had me placed in that day. And so if today you're feeling confused or you're feeling stuck, I would just encourage you to lean in and ask the Lord to highlight like why he's placed you where you are. And like it might really feel small. I promise most of the time the stuff that I do feels really, really small, but just trust that like God is multiplying it and God does not do addition, subtraction, he multiplies, and that it is so much bigger. Like your purpose really is wherever your feet are, whether that's you sitting on your couch resting on a Sunday or whether you sitting down at your little girl's feet or you going through the Chick-fil-A drive-through line and just like commenting and saying that the girl's hair is really pretty that's taking your order. Like it's just you have no clue what he's gonna do to use that. And so, anyways, your
I
purpose is
love
right
it.
where you are, and you don't have to search elsewhere for it.
Praise God. Hope you're such a gem. I'm so glad to be connected, and I can't wait to see
Thank
the more
you.
that's coming, both your house, your babies, all the things.
Yes.
You are such
Yes.
a
Thank
movement
you.
maker. Love
This
you,
was so
friend.
good. Love you.
Be blessed.